A chilly dawn in June 1944 on the chaotic beaches of Cherbourg, where the Atlantic waves still carried the acrid tang of gunpowder from the D-Day breakout. Amid the wreckage of smoldering tanks and sprawled bodies, a 24-year-old woman from Munich, Liselotte Hartmann, is hauled to her feet by American GIs. She was a radio operator for the Luftwaffe, huddled in freezing command tents, relaying signals for bomber squadrons shattered over the Eastern Front. Those endless nights in Stalingrad haunted her, the howling wind through blood-red snow where 800,000 souls broke apart in encirclement. Barbarossa, the Führer's grand dream of Laban's realm, had crumbled like sandcastles, leaving her with a gnawing dread of what lay ahead. Liselotte wasn't alone. Thousands of German women, nurses, clerks, Luftwaffe auxiliaries were captured across the Western Front, but their minds lingered on the Eastern horrors, where Reich propaganda painted the bleakest pictures. They'd been drilled to believe America was a barbaric empire, a nation of factory thugs and criminal greed, ready to torture, humiliate, even experiment on women in scorching desert hellholes. Posters in Berlin screamed, "America is the enemy of Aryan honor," where captives are beaten to death under Mojave suns. Goebbels' radio whispers spread chilling tales, endless hard labor, starvation, and darker rumors for women. For Liselotte, raised on visions of a 1,000-year Reich, the Atlantic crossing on a dim Liberty ship fold was just the prelude to true inferno. But when the trucks ground to a halt outside Amarillo, Texas, in a dusty 1944 morning, everything shifted. The sky stretched endlessly blue to the horizon, the wind carrying scents of wild hay and horses instead of cordite and terror. The doors creaked open, not to the snap of whips or rifle butts, but to a calm, drawling voice. "Ma'am, watch your step there." A tall man in a wide-brimmed hat stood waiting, sleeves rolled up, dust on his boots. No snarling MP in uniform, no bayonets at the ready. Just a cowboy, handing her a tin cup of icy water. Liselotte blinked, gulping it down, the cleanest she'd tasted since France, and whispered to herself, This is America?" Today we declassify Liselotte Hartmann's true story, not Hollywood fiction, but from buried letters, diaries, and official files locked away for 80 years. From Reich propaganda casting America as a savage realm to the shocking mercy of Texas cowboys. This isn't just about German women prisoners of war in America. It's about humanity's quiet triumph over hate, where America, holding 425,000 Axis prisoners on its soil, chose trust over vengeance. We'll uncover how these women from the Eastern Front, witnesses to Barbarossa's collapse, found real freedom in Texas. Was kindness the war's ultimate weapon, or just a fleeting dream amid hell? Stay with us as we reveal Liselotte's letter to her mother. "They gave us horses, not chains, and I began to believe peace could come from the smallest things." Are you ready to face this truth? Share your thoughts on German women prisoners of war in America in the comments below. Liselotte Hartmann's nightmare truly ignited on the Eastern Front, where she, a young woman from Munich brimming with ambition, volunteered as a Luftwaffe auxiliary to fuel the Reich's grand vision. Born in 1920 to a middle-class family, her father an engineer laying rails for Barbarossa, she grew up on patriotic anthems and smiling Führer posters. She dreamed of Aryan glory, of Laban's realm in the East, where Germany would expand like an eternal frontier. But the Eastern Front's reality was hell. Nights in icy command tents near Smolensk, relaying signals for Heinkel bombers down like autumn leaves by T-34s. Stalingrad's encirclement, with Paulus's 91,000 survivors marching out like ghosts from blood-soaked snow, haunted her like a specter. "We believed the Führer would save us," she journaled early in the war, but the eastern wind carried only the cries of comrades. When D-Day crashed ashore at Cherbourg in June 1944, Liselotte was at an auxiliary base near Normandy's coast, aiding the chaotic retreat after 3 years of Barbarossa's overreach. Allies surged like a tide, Sherman tanks pulverizing lines, and the Luftwaffe, once masters of Moscow skies, now scraps. She was captured fleeing south, amid gutted trucks and strewn bodies. American GIs, young Midwest boys with chewing gum and M1 rifles, pulled her up without blows. "Fraulein, you are right," a sergeant asked in the halting German. That was the first crack in Reich propaganda. No torture, no degradation, just a cigarette and a drink of water. The Atlantic crossing on a Liberty ship was the next ordeal. Cramped pitch-black holds reeked of sweat and vomit, mingled with pounding waves. Liselotte and 20 other women, nurses nabbed at Caen, clerks from Paris, huddled in shadows whispering Reich horrors. Americans will use women for filthy experiments, work us to death in Nevada deserts. Goebbels' pamphlets, printed by millions, sketched America as a decadent democracy's greedy empire, where captives were flogged, starved, and women exploited like chattel. They have no honor, a Luftwaffe officer once told her in Smolensk, just money and machines. Those words echoed as the ship docked in New York, then endless rails sliced through Pennsylvania, Ohio, Kansas, a vast America she'd only glimpsed in pre-war forbidden Hollywood reels. By Texas, with its 70 major camps from El Paso to Huntsville, America had become modern history's biggest jailer. Not vengeance, despite the Eastern Front's Nazi executions of millions of Soviet POWs without mercy, but strict Geneva 1929 adherence. Prisoners earned small wages, 80 cents per hour, monthly letters, English classes, even camp orchestras and theaters. The logic wasn't sentiment, it was pragmatism. With 16 million American men overseas, Texas farms starved for hands. Cotton needed picking for uniforms, cattle herding for meat to Normandy GIs, livestock tending to steady the home front economy. 425,000 Axis POWs filled the void. At camps like Hearn or Swift, barbed wire yielded to wheat fields. Labor not endless toil but daily routine. Dawn milking, afternoon cotton under summer scorch, evening fence mending. Unlike Soviet POWs in Nazi Eastern Front camps, where JSTR logs over 3 million starved or shot for laziness on rail lines to Auschwitz, JSTR 1944, U.S. calculus was cool efficiency. A fed worker causes less trouble, demands fewer guards, and might become a silent ambassador when war ends. To Liselotte, this was utterly unbelievable. She had grown up with the image of the Führer as a savior, where labor was a sacred duty to the Reich, not a choice. "We're slaves," she whispered to her fellow captive on the ship, or at least that's what they told us. But when the truck halted outside Amarillo, dust swirling thickly under the morning sun, the doors creaked open. No shouts, no rifle butts jabbing at their backs, just a calm voice, drawling slow like a country ballad. "Ma'am, watch your step there." And there he stood, a tall cowboy, sleeves rolled up high, revealing sun-bronzed arms, dust clinging to his gleaming brown leather boots. No snarling guard in uniform, no barrels trained on them, just a wide-brimmed hat shading the sun and a tin cup of ice-cold water extended with a friendly smile. Liselotte blinked, gulping down the cleanest sip she had had since leaving France, and whispered in her mind, This is America? Not monsters, but people? How did the Reich's lies shatter beneath that vast sky? Propaganda had forged beasts from terrifying tales, but reality delivered unspoken mercy. What happens when enemies become neighbors? When the Eastern Front's hell yields to Texas grasslands? Share your thoughts below on the Reich's propaganda deceptions. How did they reshape history?
The air hit them first. The scent of wild horses, fragrant, dry hay, and that endless blue sky stretching to the horizon's edge, not the choking reek of cordites or the Eastern Front's lingering terror. No chains rattled, no rifle butts prodded. A cowboy with sleeves rolled high, revealing sun-scarred forearms from cattle drives, handed Liselotte a tin cup. "Water, ma'am?" His drawl stretched thick as molasses, so the interpreter had to repeat it twice before she caught the words. The water was icy, pure, cleaner than anything she'd tasted since France. She gulped it down in one go, stunned, nearly dropping the cup. "Plenty more where that came from," he grinned, nodding like it was the most ordinary thing in the world. Breakfast came next, in a makeshift mess hall of local pine boards. A spread that mocked every Reich ration Liselotte had ever known. Hearty beef stew with mashed potatoes, crusty bread slathered in butter, even a slice of warm apple pie dusted with cinnamon, all on spotless tin trays. Dig in, ladies. The cowboy, Frank Callahan, as she'd later learn, said, his tone light as if inviting neighbors, not captives. A woman beside her whispered in German, "Poison? This is some ploy to weaken us." Hunger won out. They devoured it, realizing the bitter truth. America fed its foes better than the fatherland fed its own. Declassified diaries from Oak Trust lay bare the shock. We were slaves, or so they told us, but here, even the guards say please and thank you, treating us like people, not spoils of war. Labor wasn't the brutal grind she dreaded from Eastern Front tales, where Soviet POWs were chained to rail lines under lashes, starving beside Smolensk tracks. Instead, it was partnership, woven into America's colossal logistics machine, sustaining the war without buckling at home. With 16 million American men shipped overseas, Texas farms were desperate for hands. Cotton for uniforms, cattle for Normandy GIs meat, livestock to steady the home front. The 425,000 Axis POWs plugged the gap, earning 80 cents an hour, enough for soap or stamps home. At camps like Hearn or Swift, barbed wire gave way to golden wheat fields, work not endless drudgery, but daily rhythm. Dawn milking cows, afternoon cotton under summer blaze, evening fence mending. Unlike the Soviet POWs in Nazi Eastern Front camps, where JSTOR records over 3 million starved or shot for laziness on routes to Auschwitz, JSTOR 1944, U.S. math was cool efficiency. A Fed worker stirs less trouble, needs fewer guards, and might turn silent ambassador once the guns fall quiet. To Liselotte, raised seeing labor as sacred Reich duty, where Berlin factory whistles drove 12-hour shifts for thin soup and Lebensraum promises, this was unthinkable. "We're slaves," she'd whispered to a bunkmate on the Liberty ship, the hold thick with sweat and dread. But Texas dawn delivered stark truth. No barking sentries, no whips cracking, just strong black coffee and straightforward chores. Every crate slots into the plan, she journaled that first night. No waste, like a machine that never sleeps, where every loaf, every gallon of gas serves some greater purpose. That was America's industrial edge the Reich never fathomed. Not greed, but orchestration. Prisoners not dead weight, but gears in the vast wheel keeping the fight from collapse. While male POWs slaved Arizona's blistering copper mines, digging for pennies under ready lashes. Mental Floss Comparison 2015. Texas dangled saddles, not shackles. Liselotte started doubting. A scheme to break our spirit? But when Frank herded them to the corral, his voice cut through with a grin. Time to learn riding, ladies. No herding cattle on foot. From Eastern Front Inferno, where she'd watched comrades freeze in Rajev's meat grinder, to Texas saddle folly. Could it be genuine? Guess what they scarfed first in the comments, and hang tight to watch that hell dissolve under western sun.
The corral erupted into joyful bedlam from the jump. Khaki skirts snagged on leather saddles, horses bucked, hauling riders in mad circles, shrieks mingling with guffaws, echoing through midday dust clouds. "Don't bucker, feel the rhythm," a cowboy drawled, his grip steady, hoisting Liselotte back aboard, eyes twinkling, patience, not mockery. She, who'd once huddled quaking in Kursk command tents, amid thunderous barrages drowning heartbeats, now wrestled a feisty bay mare, ears pinned like coiled fury. First go, the saddle slipped, dumping her into the dirt, skirt ripping a seam. But no lash or jeer followed, just cowboy howls. Not mean, but kin-like ribbing for a clumsy sister. "You good? Next time hug her neck tight. Horses are pals, not foes," Frank Callahan said, voice soft as prairie breeze, extending a hand without hesitation. By noon, dust-caked and sweat-slick, Liselotte managed a gentle trot around the ring, wind whipping her hair under Texas's boundless dome. First time since Cherbourg capture, fear, that vice gripping her through Liberty ship nights, through nightmares of Nevada graves, melted slow under summer scorch. I did it," she murmured to Anna, her Hamburg bunkmate, both giggling astride. Not political liberty, not the hollow Reich speeches she'd once swallowed, but personal freedom, the thrill of motion, breeze on skin, sheer possibility. On the Eastern Front, freedom was illusion amid Stalingrad's red snow. Here it synced with the mare's heartbeat to hers. Afternoons wove deeper magic, corral-side campfires, harmonicas wailing, and guitars strumming under crimson dusks like Barbarossa's blood. At first, women sat apart, weary and wary, clutching personal bags like final shields. But music seeped in, crumbling the unseen wall between conquerors and conquered. A lanky cowboy, silver-stubbled jaw, started humming Lily Marlene, the tune every German knew by heart, from Regev watches to Berlin's last gasps. His rasp raw but sincere, and before she knew it, Liselotte joined, her voice weaving English-German threads like the Dnieper witnessing bloodbaths. War wraps up when folks see they're not so different, Frank Callahan murmured, back against an old saddle, gaze on flickering flames, or all human under the same spread of stars. Munich or Amarillo. Lines blurred in those fleeting minutes, no foes, just shared song, soft chuckles, fire's warmth chasing Eastern Front chills from her dreams. Then, the storm slammed in, a classic Texas twister, sky blackening sudden, winds howling like cursed guns, lightning ripping horizons like Moscow bombs. Cattle bolted wild across fields, hooves churning mud, bellows echoing Paulus's encirclement pleas. No pause. The women surged out, Liselotte gripping reins, rain lashing faces like Reich whips, but she rode flank to flank with cowboys, yelling directions in Deutsch-laced English. Hours on, soaked and shuddering, they returned triumphant. Not a head lost. "Y'all ain't city slickers no more," Frank hollered, face streaked rain and pride, clapping Liselotte's shoulder like a squad mate. That night, ranch hands nailed a hand-scrolled shingle over the bunkhouse door. The German cowgirls. Liselotte stared, then laughed till tears streamed. First real guffaw since Barbarossa's fall. That shift reverberates now, like 2025 Ukrainian-Russian POW tales, where post-war mercy starts mending hate scars through tiny gestures, a shared meal, honest word between old adversaries. Kindness ain't frailty, it's raw power, as ISW Ukraine reports note this year. First humane acts forge bridges stronger than any treaty. For Liselotte, humanity's Texas preserved diaries capture it. They trust us. Madness, but kindness disguised in dust. Humanity's Texas. From Luftwaffe signals and cursed nights to Lhasa loops round posts, the pivot ran deep. War's chains snapped not by force, but fragile faith, that humans transcend hate, Eastern Front abyss or Texas calm. From mending rail fences under afternoon sun, where Liselotte learned hammering without the old Smolensk quiver, to dawn cow milking, hands milk-scented, not bomb smoke, everything schooled her. They raced hay tosses, longest throw winning a chilled Coke, that fizzy nectar-Reich band is Yankee rot. In Germany, work was duty, Liselotte confided to Anna one dusk. Here, it's pride. Cowboys joshed, croned, vied in trifles. Who roped a calf quickest? Who patched the longest fence before sundown? No iron ranks like Wehrmacht. No bowed fear before officers, just mutual regard, where a once terrified German girl could belly laugh as her mount clinched a sprint. Which beat hit you hardest? The maiden trot's chaos, the storm surge through downpours, or fireside Lily Marlene, where foes harmonized? Spill your feels below, because those instants didn't just remake Liselotte, they seeded a generation's thaw. But the true pivot, when surrender news cracked like thunder, and their world flipped once more. April 1945. Breezes hauled spring grass whiffs across Texas flats, newborn calves wobbling after dams, wheat fields greening under warming rays, but the air hung thick as pre-storm hush. Rumors whipped faster than dust devils. Berlin besieged, Führer suicided in a bunker, Germany unconditional surrender. Impossible, Liselotte breathed to Anna in the stable, her brush halting mid-stroke on the bay's flank. They'd endured Barbarossa's flop, Stalingrad's ringed nightmare, radio silences from Berlin, yet this, from Frank's creaky kitchen radio, landed the final gut punch. Frank strode into the barn, creased paper clutched, face grave under his brim. "Ladies, it's done. Germany's folded." Silence crashed like Stalingrad snow, heavy, shell-shocked. No victory whoops, just quiet tears and bewildered murmurs. For Liselotte, war scripted every breath, every dread, every loss. Now that void yawned, Texas sky vast, leaving her trembling not from chill. The weeks blurred in emotional fog, repatriation rigs rolled up, hauling not just scant gear, but nameless talismans. Frank's Stetson, knife-etched, from foes to friends. Censored letters where Liselotte penned her ma, "Dearest mother, I'm alive, and I must tell you what you won't believe. I work on a Texas farm. They call it a ranch. Folks here are kind, truly kind. They give us food, so much I can't finish. They even teach us to ride horses. The men wear hats wide as platters and sip something called Coca-Cola. They play tunes after chores and share their songs. She paused, staring at the fragile page, wondering if bombed-out Munich Ma peg her daughter daft. Reich Rags had sketched U.S. POW pens as torture pits, captives flogged and women debased, but here under Texas plays, she sipped Morning Joe and mastered Chili's kick. When the ship nosed Bremerhaven that grim winter 1945, Germany wasn't homeland, but colossal ruin. Docks ran rubble rivers, streets twisted through ash. What were roads now snaked debris. U.S. officers passed care kits pre-debark, Hershey bars, tinned fish, directive notes, Red Cross Eagle on every box, a final irony. Years drilled that Yanks were material monsters, honorless brutes, but clutching melting chocolate, Stetson crowned, Liselotte felt the lie pulverize. Homebound to Munich, she found confirming agony, house rubble, parents bombed dead, village Stalingrad shrunk to embers. Yet amid ashes, she clutched what flames couldn't torch, Texas taught notion that humanity endures via grace. Liselotte kicked off translating for occupation allies, her Texas twang, slang loaded partner, or ain't tickling GIs pink. Where'd you pick that up? A major quizzed. And she spun Callahan ranch yarns, boundless skies, men treating captives human, not loot. GIs gawked. They braced for woe tales, not cow drives, coke and cowboy lids. By 1948, Stuttgart Women's Parley, rebuilding via insight, Liselotte keyed. I was war captive, yet never felt it. Texas cowboys shared grub, schooled me riding, crooned Lily Marlene fireside. First time equal, no lash or command. Crowd teared as a Yank woman hugged her. Hall's premiere, German-American, ex-foes now kin. She rooted San Antonio, 1950, launching a bakery blending kraut strudel with pecan pie, apple pastry nut crumbed, pretzel smoke salted. Countertop, 1945 snap, youthful Liselotte, oversized hat, beside shy smiling Frank. Caption plain, from foes to friends. Patrons, ex-POWs, male, female, linger, swapping war yarns, Texas odd mercy, molding post-war spans. Historians credit these POW stints quiet but crucial in German-American thaw. Thousands repatriated with fairness yarns, decency seeds, first human links, and trust-starved rebuild. Texas weren't mere spreads, but reconciliation's germ. 425K Axis POWs to stealth envoys. Liselotte's track from Barbarossa whispers to bakery scents proves war's close ain't packs, but trust rebuilt act by act. What seeds did they sow homebound? The forgiveness or kindness might. Your take below, because these yarns still reshape us. And today's fractured globe takeaways.
Texas weren't just dust trails and weathered saddles. It was reconciliation's quiet seedbed where war scars started knitting not via bombs or accords, but human whispers. From 425,000 Axis POWs on U.S. turf, modern annals' biggest lockup, to unwitting envoys trickling back to rubble Germany, Liselotte Hartmann and her sisters spanned the Atlantic with invisible trust threads. Her path, from Barbarossa's Smolensk echoes, Stalingrad's ringed nightmare, to San Antonio bakery whiffs, proves war's curtain ain't drawn at Berlin tables, but corral firesides where Lily Marlene wove Yank Deutsch, where a cowboy lent a hand to a once captive foe remounting steady. Ponder that legacy. Texas POW pens weren't mawkish pity, but sly psy-op. America flexing via no need to humiliate dominance. PBS Camp Hearn logs 2005. 425K POWs bridged the gap, flipping German Yank views from beast to buddy. Mental Floss 2015 adds, they hauled back not memories alone, but freedom's true blueprint. Not flags, but folks' hands. And today, eyeing drags like 2025 Ukraine, Texas whispers mercy's post-scar mend via slivers, a split meal twixt Russian-Ukrainian captives, candid chat over old grudge. Grace ain't frailty, it's bedrock might. ISW Ukraine briefs flagged this year. Initial humane nods forge pacts, tougher entreaties. 3 declassified takeaways I reckon we etch deep to dodge history's rerun. 1. Mercy's war's apex arms, not A-bombs or Panther treads, but moral steel outlasting all. U.S. proved it with 425K, foes to firm hands. PBS 2005 nodding post-war German U.S. snapback. My take, in social feeds hate swirl, we crave that arms fiercer than ever, not blind pardon, but future forge.
2. Propaganda shatters on reality's rock. Reich's Yank Brute yarn flopped when Liselotte gripped Hershey melt in Stetson crown. Like Eastern Front's Soviet frail myth crumbled at Kursk. Mental Floss 2015 spotlights. POW home yarns toppled Reich remnants' faith. Personal slant. Ukraine 2025's dual propaganda still bays faux fiend. Yet annals yell encounter is key to hate loop's bust. We gotta nudge Texas meets. Cultural swaps over missiles. Free. War gashes knit via humanness, not triumph. From Palace's Stalingrad snare with 91K shades marching out to 1948 Stuttgart where Liselotte hugged Yank ex-foe. Her line, freedom flows from people, kindness by kindness. Mental Floss 2015. That nugget, war raps, not Yalta Potsdam parchments, but Frank Callahan's. Plain Joe's picking grace over grudge. My view, Eastern Front's 27M toll bids we learn to sidestep repeats, tailored to today's Ukraine, where captives could link, not targets. Next week, we plunge abyssward, Soviet POW terrors in Nazi Eastern pens, where labor meant slow death. Texas graces foil. Don't miss. Which nugget stirs you deepest? Mercy's edge, propaganda's bust, or humanness's mend? Drop it below like if this tugged heartstrings. Sub for fresh Eastern Front declassed, share with history hounds, binge POW's Untold playlist. Hashtag WW2 POWs, Eastern Front declassed. Together, we don't just recall past, we mold tomorrow. Thanks for tuning. History ain't for forgetting, it's for schooling.